forgive sins. This is something that only God can do. I mean, we can forgive somebody in terms of the offense that they've committed against us, but we cannot erase the offense itself or erase any kind of debt to God. Only God can do that, and yet this is what Jesus does. Luke 5, when Jesus perceived their thoughts, meaning the religious leaders, he answered them, "Why do you question in your hearts? Which is easier, to say your sins are forgiven you, or to say, rise up and walk?" Well, obviously, it's easier to say your sins be forgiven you. It's easier to say that because there's no way to empirically verify if it happened or not. But if you say, rise up and walk, that person better rise up and walk. And so in verse 24, but that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, he said to the man who was paralyzed, I say to you, rise, pick up your bed and go home. And immediately he rose up before them and picked up what he had been lying on and went home glorifying God. So the authority to forgive sins reserved for God alone is attributed to Christ. We've seen that he claims pre-existence. We've seen that he bears the names and titles of divinity. We've seen that he performs actions that are reserved for God. And then finally, he possesses the incommunicable attributes of deity. Just a refresher, we looked at the attributes of God and we said there's two kinds. Communicable attributes, which are those attributes of God that we as human beings can participate in. Love, graciousness, goodness, so on. And the incommunicable attributes reserved for God alone. He's eternal, he's omnipresent, he's all-knowing, and so on. Well, Christ actually possesses these incommunicable attributes. Of course, he possesses the communicable attributes as well. But here we have a human being possessing or claiming to possess incommunicable attributes. For instance, in John 5:26, for as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself. This is a claim to independence or self-existence. The technical term is aseity, that Christ has life in and of himself. He is not dependent on anything outside of himself for his existence. We've already seen that he's eternal. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning, by the way, is a Hebrew phrase that speaks of in eternity. And he possesses the fullness of deity. Colossians 2:9 and 10. For in him the whole fullness of deity dwells, and you have been filled in him, who is the head of all rule and authority. But in him the whole fullness of deity dwells.